All right, everyone, welcome back and got the live stream back going again, and it feels really good. Really excited to get the live stream going once again. It's been about 6 months, which was actually the time I put in an offer for a house that was being built. So bought a house that was being built. It's finally done. I'm finally in the office, which means that I can get back into the live streams, and that gets me excited. I'm excited to get all this information out to you guys, and it's gonna be good stuff. Might be trying to do more live streams throughout the week as well, and then just kind of doing quick snips of the live stream to post that as like the core plays video or the phase video or whatnot. So, might be doing that going forward, but I'm pretty excited to be back here, guys. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it as well. So yeah, Infamous is already saying some stuff. Just kind of looking over like Sergio Garcia. The whole top, honestly, like part of the issue with DraftKings lately, or the good thing, is that they've gone a lot better with their golf data. So like it's hard to find players that are priced inappropriately or not appropriately, I guess. Sergio Garcia makes a ton of sense this week at his current price point. He has 11% ownership, which I actually kind of think is a little bit too low for Sergio. We'll get into that a little bit more, obviously, as we go. But yeah, like Sam Burns, Willie Z, Sergio, Sanjay M, Corey Connors, Mito, Keegan. Like I could make a strong argument for all those guys. I was trying to find players to fade, and like I really couldn't find a good reason why we should fade any of them. Now, sure, Sergio coming off of the Ryder Cup loss, but he actually played well, especially on the last day. Won this tournament last year. We're looking over like the stat fit and whatnot, the recent form. It's all there for Sergio. So a play like that makes perfect sense. Then you got the favorite, Sam Burns. Sam Burns, had a top 10 finish here. 3 out of 4 made cuts. Strong ball striker, strong strokes gained to green. So definitely a very interesting week there. But yeah, I'm excited to get the live streams going once again. And obviously I'll dive down into this a little bit more, but just kind of want to touch on it a little bit more. I think I'm going live on Twitter as well. Hopefully, if anyone is watching live on Twitter, let me know there, because it's been a while since I've done that. That's going back to the sit start poll days since we were live on Twitter, but excited for that. Put out some TikTok content as well. Don't tell anyone that. But I did. So if you guys are on TikTok or even Instagram, check that out as well, because there'll be content posted on there a little bit more. That's why I'm excited. I can just get a lot more content out as well. So, and also we got those fun site updates for you guys. But let's kind of get into it. These are going to be 30-minute live streams. Still want to stick to not having too much fluff in these videos as well. But as always, if you guys have questions, make sure to put those in the chat as well. But I did want to start off with the fades. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get into the player profile here. And then after the fades, I posted this on Twitter, I'm going to get into trying to find a reason to play Matthew Wolff. Because there's been a lot of chatter about Matthew Wolff this week, and it's just interesting. Plays like Matthew Wolff. And I just want to dive down into that a little bit more. And that's what I missed about doing live stream is like being able to talk over stuff like this. I'm very excited for that. All right, good to see that I'm live on Twitter as well. That's good stuff. All right. But yeah, so like Matthew Wolff, I just want to talk that over a little bit more after the fades. But he's also going to be a fade, so I guess we can just start off with Matthew Wolff. I forgot about the issue of going live and then all the data here, how it takes like a second longer to load. Any weather issue? No, nothing more than we normally see at this tournament. So not too worried about that there. But yeah, looking over Matthew Wolff. So let's just scroll by. Oh, we got it already. So most recent starts. One more click there. Most recent starts. 2 missed cuts in a row. That was the playoffs. He knew he probably wasn't going to be able to perform too well. Sure. Prior to that, didn't play well really in events that he should have played well. The 3M Open, an event that he won, a no-cut event. That wasn't a horrible finish, 17th. That's actually not bad. And then Rocket Mortgage Classic didn't really play well there. And I would say like the Rocket Mortgage Classic and this tournament are kind of similar events, somewhat. 10% ownership. Let's just look at kind of the ancillary stats there, if you will, to see if we can find a reason. So strokes gained putting on this course. No, that's not really popping. That would kind of suggest that he would be a little bit worse. Not horrible though. Let's see here. Average strokes gained tee to green for this course. Not really anything there. If anything, strokes gained total is a little bit better for this course length, for the Parkland style course, and for a full tournament field event, slightly better there. So nothing just yet there that would suggest, Matthew Wolff's going to be worth it as a DFS play at 8.5. I do get it in terms of like betting, but still it's kind of risky. So here's what we're going to do. The date now for the custom model here on 9to5sports.com is going to be set to 365 days. Okay. We can sort that by whatever days or months that we want, whatever. It's going to be up to you guys. So that's where it does get interesting with Matthew Wolff. If we just look at all the stats, all the significant stats for PGA DFS without filtering them out at all, he does look like possibly the fourth best play. So there's that. So what people are really hoping for with Matthew Wolff is that they get that Matthew Wolff. He's been so bad for so long that they're hoping that it regresses back in a huge way. And we do see that sometimes. Cameron Champ, for example, the 3M Open. Heck, Max Homa last week as well. I guess you could say Phil Mickelson as well. That was a one-off random event there. But we do see this where a player has just really sucked for a while and they just kind of come back and have a big win. I guess Rory would be a good example of his win like 3 months ago now. Kind of stuff like that. But if we look at the key stats for this week, that's where it might get iffy with him. So let's just do that. Do par 5 scoring. We're going to do average finish recently as well. We'll go strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained approach, and then we'll just pull in strokes gained total as well. So let's see here. Let's see where he ranks out. Not horrible over the last year. Not horrible. Okay, you got Doug Im, Harold Varner, Cameron Tringali, Keegan Bradley, Willie Z, Nick Hardy. That's a small sample size. Matt Wallace. I'd much rather get behind Matt Wallace, to be honest with you, than Matthew Wolff there. So interesting, but obviously 365 days, that's a whole year ago. For me, when I'm looking at data, I like to look at the last 90 days, maybe double that as well. But, the last 3 months for me with my golf game, at least is kind of the example I'm going to use. It's like, I don't really see differences in my golf game like week to week, but every 3 months, I would say there is a noticeable difference in the quality of golf I'm playing. So I would want to use the last 90 days. And that's where it really falls off for a lot of these players. So for someone like Wolff, even Wallace, you're really trying to hope for them to strongly regress back to their mean, which I'm not saying it's impossible. That happens a decent amount. But for DFS purposes, I don't see why we could play him. And then even for betting, I kind of get it. Good odds, 50-1. But there's better options at that same odds. Like you got Aaron Wise there, who good recent form, good stat fit. I'd kind of much rather play Aaron Wise right now. So just interesting there. It's not like I'm saying he's going to be horrible. I just found it weird how much he was getting talked up for kind of being a bad play. But I get it. It can regress back, and, we do see that. So that's what people are hoping for with that. And it's not like it doesn't happen, but really it comes down to this. Either you're the player that does the statistical stat fit, you're the data guy, which is kind of what I've become, which is kind of crazy to me. But either you do that all the time, or you kind of trust your gut, I guess, if you will. You go with those more risky plays. Like if you're playing Matthew Wolff this week, you're probably someone that typically makes bets like those. And it does happen occasionally. I would say like 1 out of 5 times, maybe not that much, 1 out of 7 times a play like that will hit. So that could happen this week. I'm just saying it's not that likely. But, he's the first fade. Let me look at the big board. I got 3 more there. I actually had Doug Im down there as a fade as well, even though I kind of mentioned him earlier. Not a horrible play, just kind of at his price point range. And I'll just go back into the 9to5 cheat sheet here for you guys for the Doug Im fade. So it's more or less a price point play thing for me with Doug Im here. So Doug Im, just highlighting him, 7% ownership. That's not bad. We'll take that any day of the week, but just kind of looking over the stats, nothing to suggest anything great. His best finish here was a top 25 finish. Not a horrible stat fit. Recent form is questionable. I just, at 8K, that seemed like a little bit too pricey for him. Don't really get that price point for him. And kind of same thing with these next two. I don't hate them as plays. They're just priced up a little bit too much where you're really hoping for a best outcome here. So like Joseph Brenlet, I kind of do get it a little bit, but for the most part, this shouldn't be a good tournament for Joseph Brenlet. Made one start here, or made one cut here out of 2 starts. That's not that great. Stat fit wise, not the best stat fit. I'm just going to pull up his recent starts. 42nd place finish at the Fortinet Championship. That's not all too good. He did have that 11th place finish at the Barbasol Championship, which I believe we were on him that week. He's always someone that's playing decent. If we just look at his strokes gained total on this chart, we can see it's never like horrible, except for the John Deere Classic 110. He's kind of right around making the cut. But for me, I just 7% owned. That's kind of strange. I would, at this price point, I would say he should be like a 3% owned play. I kind of get the risk reward with it. I'm just not going there. And then Keith Mitchell, this one I don't like it for fading purposes, because I do see a path where he could do well. It's more or less, I just don't want to play him at this price point range, like I said with the other 2 guys as well. Give it a second to load here. Once again, guys, live stream. It kind of kills my internet connection when I'm trying to pull up all this data here, but we got it. So miscut here last year, but he does have some top 10 finishes. Over 4 out of his last 5 starts have been top 10 finishes, 4 straight cuts in a row. We kind of like that. We kind of like that he has that upside as well as kind of that safety. That's great. That's really where it ends. Just looking at the, I don't want to call it fluff stats, because I can see where this would matter and whatnot. The secondary stats, the secondary data view, if you will. We can see average strokes gained total compared to the specifics for this course. Not good in terms of course designer, not good in terms of length, not good in terms of parkland style, not good in terms of event type. Strokes gained tee to green, fairway length, kind of struggles with that length, the width of it, I guess. Rough length doesn't do well in this kind of rough length with, whatever. And then rough height doesn't do well in that. So all these secondary stats are telling us probably not going to be a good play for Keith Mitchell, although I do see the upside with him possibly this week. But that's really all I have for like fades that I could find. And part of the reason is just like price point. That's really it with those guys. DraftKings and FanDuel, and I don't want to say Yahoo, not Yahoo just yet, but FanDuel and DraftKings have gotten a lot better really since I stopped doing live streams. It's kind of when they started to get better at their pricing. It's like they saw the 9-to-5 model almost and we're like, all right, let's try to mimic that. So like lately it's been tough to find like those high upside plays that are just mispriced. And, we do get a couple of those occasionally, but for the most part, they come with some inherent risk. I will say Seamus Power priced here, a little bit too cheap. Charlie Hoffman I like, and we can recap on the core plays. Charlie Hoffman, Seamus Power, Cameron Tringale, and Scott Piercy. Now for me, I was a little bit shocked for Scott Piercy in terms of like just how high owned he is. I'll pull that up here. So Scott Piercy. What about Sebastian Munoz? I'll pull up Sebastian Munoz there. Then if anyone else has any questions, you can get those in as well. I'd be happy to answer those as well. But yeah, Scott Piercy here. So 3% owned now. That's weird because like yesterday he was like 5% owned. So people have gotten off of him as the week has went on, which is a little bit strange to me. We can see, 5 straight made cuts in a row. It's kind of the same thing as Keith Mitchell, although I would say, it sounds weird to say, I would say he's a little bit better of a course fit for this tournament. Strokes gain approach, par 5 scoring, we want to see that, but we want to see those guys that are not going to be making that many mistakes, which that used to be Scott Piercy up until last year where he sucked. And that's where maybe just mentally, that 11th place finish that we saw, maybe just mentally he's like, all right, restart, had a horrible year last year, let's just mentally restart and let's get it going this year. And maybe that's what that was. Maybe. I could see that. But 11th and 15th place finish at this price point. Now, we're not locking it in, not like a go crazy with it, but he should be a quality play at 7.4. I do like him. We look at those secondary stats, a little bit better in terms of course fit for him. Gets a little bit better. Not completely, but this is all about, adding a stroke here or taking a stroke off here or there. That's why I look at rankings, because that's really what it comes down to. It's like, what is it compared to the field, or what is it compared to what they normally are looking at? That's what we're looking at here, and that's what we like to see. So should be a good play. He made the cut here last year. If anything, that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is a made cut. And maybe that's why people got off of him, is they don't see the upside with him. That could be, I could see that being the reason why. Yeah, I could see that. But I don't. I like the upside, and I like the safety with him as a pick. But then let's get into some of the outright bets here, guys. So outright bets, and I will say here on the 9 to 5 page here, I had the outright bets on a write-up, and I did make a little TikTok. I don't know, do I show? I mean, the TikTok I did post on Twitter as well. I could show that. It's a minute long. We're doing a live stream. I could do that. But here's the write-up here. It's kind of going over those players as well. Kind of show it to you guys. So this is going to be free. I'm going to do kind of, I don't know, the top 4 outright bets. Sometimes it'll be more or less than that on the, actual member write-up and whatnot. But, Cameron Tringale, I do like outright bets. Should be a solid pick. For me, he's kind of like with Matthew Wolff, where you don't necessarily want to play him on DraftKings or DFS. That's where it makes sense with someone like Cameron Tringale as well, where they make for better outright bets, because for some reason this just feels like a trap play. Even though Cameron Tringale is checking all the boxes for me, I could see a path where he just has a bad week. We see that sometimes where these guys, where they're, the perfect play, they just, I don't know, maybe they know that, maybe they see that they're getting talked up a decent amount, and it gets to them mentally. I could see that, but, I do like him as outright bet. Kind of do see him being in contention to win. And then Charlie Hoffman, everyone is kind of talking up Charlie Hoffman, but I kind of get it. He's chalky. He's probably going to be the most owned players minus Mito. Mito might end up being the most chalky, but Charlie Hoffman this week, 2 top 25 finishes. His last 3 recent starts have been great. Overall, he's kind of one of those players where I kind of trust a little bit more as a betting card pick than I do like a DFS play. Seamus Power here, though. Seamus Power as a whole, Seamus Power should be a pretty quality play overall. Seamus Power, 9 straight made cuts in a row in the best recent form out of anyone in the field. Going to be a little bit higher owned. That's the worry with him. Going to have to eat some chalk this week, which if you did want to pivot, like I said, DraftKings and FanDuel have done a great job of pricing. And this is kind of where, talking about ownership, and then I will say Aaron Wise, and I'll get into ownership here. Aaron Wise I do like, just kind of checking on the boxes as well, just not as good of a stat fit, not as good of course history, or not as good of recent form, but at his odds 50-1, casually checking all the boxes, I do like Aaron Wise. But let's get back into that. We'll search by ownership here. And I do kind of just want to mention my kind of thoughts on ownership a little bit, and it's kind of changed throughout the last year or so. In GPPs, if you're someone that's entering GPPs, for the most part, you're not max entering you are max entering a lot, okay? If you're someone that's worried about ownership, you are someone that's really probably max entering, or either doing 20 entry max contests or 150 max entry contests. So with that, the ownership leverage that people try to get doesn't really matter too much, because at some point, if you're just on the correct players in your player pool, it's going to pay off, or kind of the other way around. If you're on the wrong players in your player pool, it's just not going to be a good week for you. Like, getting ownership leverage on someone is really not going to matter all too much. Now, sure, 2 weeks ago, John Rahm, with the news that was coming out, the popular thing on the 9 to 5 Discord chat was to, pivot to Webb Simpson. That's something that, sure, makes sense. John Rahm was chalk. A lot of 9 to 5 Nation in that Discord chat decide, hey, let's get off of him. Let's pivot to Webb. Let's do the safe thing. That will work. But as a whole, you're probably not going to fade John Rahm as a whole. You're still going to want some of him. And that's kind of where I want to make this point, is that for my main build, and this happened throughout the week, it's kind of one of those last resort things, but with my main build, which is my cash build, typically I do single entry contests and GPPs and whatnot, but for the most part, cash build. That's what we're talking here. I think ownership matters more in there, because John Rahm was like the player you want to pay out for, kind of the easy play, just the perfect play. We got kind of that injury news coming out. It made sense to pivot to Webb Simpson just because he was the safer play. And honestly, in cash, if you're fading someone that's chalky for almost as good of a play, chances are, if they're priced similarly, they are, I don't want to say they are just as good of a play, but they're going to be good enough, if that makes sense. Like in cash, the difference is greater that you're going to get if someone that's chalky misses the cut, whereas you're still going to get a good likelihood of them making the cut, if that makes sense. So let's just use an example here. So let's just do this. Now, I do like Mito as well. He's pretty chalky this week, and I get it. We don't have any stats for him just yet. I don't know what's going on there with the PGA Tour. Kind of lacking there with Mito, but that's why it's not shown. That's not me. That's PGA Tour. I should be good after this tournament as an FY, but we can see right here, great stat fit, great recent form, solid pick overall. He is chalky though. He is very chalky. 21% ownership. Very chalky. He's not like a lock to make the cut. You know, if we're worried about the ownership and trying to get ownership leverage, it actually does make a lot of sense to me to potentially, I don't want to pivot to Keegan Bradley. This is a poor example because Keegan Bradley is not in my player pool, but if he was mid-exposure play, low exposure play, I feel really good about Keegan Bradley then pivoting to him as a play where I kind of might start adapting that approach in cash where, you know, these really chalky players, you kind of worry about them and you're not going to lose out too much unless they win or unless the player that you're switching to, like let's say Keegan in this example, only gets like a top 50 finish and Mito gets a, you know, top 10 or wins. That's going to hurt you a little bit, but the goal is to get 6 for 6 across the cut line. And if you do that, you're going to be setting yourself up for a successful week and a successful season. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on for me. But, you know, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. I do have about 5 more minutes here, and then I'm going to be closing up. We got Infamous still in here. What's going on, man? That's what kind of sucks, though, about having to, I guess, stop live streams for a good 6 months period. It's kind of like all that momentum I built up with live streams, it's kind of like I'm restarting instead of picking up where I left off. That does kind of suck a little bit, but at the same time, it's excited because, well, we can see the stream quality's gotten better, the brand quality's gotten better, the content has all gotten better because I was not dedicating as much as my time to, I don't want to say fluff content, but kind of that. Like, I do love doing live streams and it's fun. But at the end of the day, I was able to do like more data drops and stuff like that that actually, like, I don't want to say actually matters, but matters a little bit more. So that's it. We'll do a quick fade based on ownership here as well. So the most owned players, we'll talk about that. And then I'll be getting out of here. So the most owned players, Charlie Hoffman, Mito, Sanjay M, Corey Connors. I'm all good with that, guys. That all makes sense. Sam Burns. Sam Burns being the most chalky at his current price point. That's a little bit crazy to me. I expect that number to drop. And then Carlos Ortiz. I didn't know that. Carlos Ortiz is getting a lot of hype. So Carlos Ortiz, 14% owned for him. Higher than Seamus Power. That's a little crazy. He has that good course history, I guess. 2 top 5 finishes and 3 straight make cuts in a row. I kind of get that, I guess, but interesting there. And that's where we could go to like a pivot of Kevin Strillman, who also has 2 top 10 finishes and has made 4 straight cuts in a row. Not too big of a difference ownership-wise, about 3% there, but that's interesting there. Matthew Wolff, 10% owned now. Wow, that's interesting. Like, I like Ches Reeve a little bit more than I do Matthew Wolff there. So that's interesting stuff there. But that is, everything got better overall. I appreciate that, man. A lot of hard work and time, a lot of time really went into it, and then just researching and whatnot to make it a better product and better value for everyone as well. So as you know, I'm going to be trying to do these updates for Euro, the Corn Ferry Tour, and the LPGA Tour as well throughout the next coming months. So that's another thing that we're going to be adding to the 9 to 5 brand. So I'm excited for that as well. But that is all I have for you guys for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. Should be a good season. I'm excited for it. NFL content will be coming out tomorrow. Might be posting a Core Plays video tonight, but for the most part, NFL content will be coming out tomorrow. Might be trying to do a live stream for that Thursday night showdown, which, man, guys, the captain's picks, real quick, if you are staying tuned for the end of this video, the captain's picks for 9 to 5 on the showdown slates, it's been a little lucky and a little good. Like Quintez Cephas, that was a talented captain's pick. Kyle Juszczyk, that was talented. I don't know why I'm saying talented, but that was skill. Then Monday night, got kind of lucky ending up on Dalton Schultz as the captain's pick, but you know, it worked out. Devin Duvernay had a touchdown because of a fumble. You know, that was lucky, but you know, it's been pretty solid stuff. DJ Moore was another one for us, so good stuff there so far. So that's